A traditional design sprint is a 5-day process where you go through prototyping, designing, and testing. It was developed by Google Ventures. It's the greatest hits. It's all the rage, right? Everyone's doing it. As a reminder, this is kind of a typical software cycle where you build something, you launch it, you measure it, and then you repeat that process. But the design sprint is really meant to accelerate that process by testing a prototype, saving all sorts of time and money, and being able to move fast and break stuff. And it turns out that design sprints are pretty cool. Blue Bottle, big coffee company, used a design sprint to sell coffee online. They did this successfully. Slack used a design sprint to reach more clients. There's this thing called a Savioke robot that delivers you a toothbrush in your hotel, and they used a design sprint in order to rapidly innovate and validate this process. Here at Skookum, we used a design sprint in order to design, ideate, and test, and give a roadmap to practice battle, right? And this is what one of the outputs looks like. And you remember a couple weeks ago, the day shift program, they used a design sprint in order to build their website in a week, okay? The design sprint, just as a reminder, it's this 5-day process. Monday is about mapping out the challenge, talking to experts. Tuesday is actually sketching solutions, so everyone who participates it, not just the person in charge, not just the designer, has a chance to sketch their solutions. Wednesday is the hardest day where you actually decide what this thing that you want to build, what business challenge you want to tackle is decided. You have a day to prototype it, and then you test it with real life people to see if it's worth pursuing, worth reiterating, or worth abandoning. But it turns out a design sprint is not the Skookum way, right? We don't just want to sell this thing called the design sprint. You can buy the book for $20 and run your own if you want. At Skookum, we have our own process, but we still do a lot of the same stuff. We write things on stickies. It makes us look smart. We talk about them and stick them on the wall. We do sketches, right? And we put dots all over them. It's wonderful. We listen to what the client has to say to gather their requirements, okay? But it turns out the Skookum way of the design sprint is a lot more. So we do a lot of the Google Sprint design processes, and then we actually throw in a second week, which is like the iteration week where we deliver some outcomes, all right? So during the first week, we add things in there like guiding principles, like competitor lists, like feature lists, even user stories during that first week. And then during the second week, we iterate on that. We developed this big long list of guiding principles, and this is one of the value adds. This is not something that the Google Sprint does, but it's something that we do. We say, hey, here are the themes that we keep hearing from you, that it's simple, that it's using positive reinforcement to encourage students, and we let these resonate throughout the 2 weeks we spent together. We made a big long feature, right? This is all spilling off the page because it's so huge, but this is something that is not part of the traditional sprint, but it's something that we offered during this project. We wrote user stories for them, and this was the thing, of course, user stories that really aligned the client and made them understand, like, oh, this is what this is actually going to be. This, interestingly enough, was one of his favorite things that we did. Wireframes, nice, right? So we produced all these ideas coming together, and then we made an interactive prototype. And this was prepared during the second week and was used during the testing.